And welcome to another week of Rule of 24. This is for the week of 23 February through 1 March 2026. In this week's episode, we're going to be exploring once again a variety of eclectic images taken throughout the week. Very first night, I took what's called M60, part of the Messier catalog of 110 solar system objects. Then we also have the following morning the M100, or the Mirror Galaxy. During the week, I also took the conjunction with the moon, and very small down here is Jupiter. You'll see it better in the video, but this will not occur for another year. 2028 is the next occurrence of that type of conjunction. And Charlie and I went out and we flew the drone. Ever since we got the drone, it's just been windy, and while the drone's supposed to be able to fly in high winds, I'm not taking the risk. And again, we spent a day at the doggy park where Charlie got to meet a new dog that he hadn't seen before. And Charlie also goes out on an adventure. This is the Purposeful Picture for this week, where Charlie is looking through light coming through windows with a shadow. Also this week we have an awesome picture of Charlie. I actually caught him with all four legs up in the air, which I've probably shot 2,000 pictures now, and that's the only one where I have him up in the air. And on Wednesday, we just really didn't have anything else to do, so I took Charlie out to the Stillhouse Wildlife Management Area, because it's not required for him to be on a leash. And the purpose behind the visit was we'd previously found this lone tree, and I wanted to take this with the 70 to 200 and work on compression. So I could take it at 70, take it at 200, take it in between, so that I could see what was occurring. And then also on Wednesday, when we came back from the cattle auction barn dropping off the pictures, Charlie and I reconned a location for the upcoming full moon, and you can barely see the moon in this image, which is right over here. And so that is where we're going to go out on the 1st of April to capture the full moon rising. And this first image here is the Messier 60, also known as NGC 4649. This is an elliptical galaxy. It is roughly 57 million light years away from Earth. So once again, that always just amazes me that I'm able to capture this off the back porch. And once again, this is an equatorial constellation, and it's located in the constellation Virgo. So here in our second image is the Messier 100, also known as NGC 4321. And once again, you can see when this photograph was taken. And this galaxy, the Mirror Galaxy, is located out there in the Virgo cluster. And once again, this is approximately 55 million light years away from the planet Earth. And what's interesting about this is this galaxy is estimated to be 166,000 light years across. So in this image and the following two images, these were all shot with the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, and I had a prime RF 85 lens. And while it was really bright, so I wanted to keep the ISO at 100, and so I had the timing down at 1/8000 and still at f1.2. I really wanted to practice getting that bokeh and just focusing on the front of the dogs. So there was only 3 dogs there: Charlie, the first dog, and this dog here. Looks like part Irish setter. And they were having a pretty good time, and so I was pretty happy to be able to capture them. I laid down on the ground, so that's why I was able to get such a low perspective. And so once again, still this is the third frame, so I'm still using the R6 Mark II with the Prime RF85 as 1/8000 f 1.2 and ISO 100. And over the last several weeks, there's always been an inclusion of a couple dogs in the dog park. But there's this sand pit out there that allows the dogs that want to go in there and burrow and dig a hole. And it's not as used as often as I thought. Anyways, Charlie was chasing those previous two dogs through the park, and I was down on a slight slope, so I was pretty level with Charlie here. And out of probably about maybe 3,000 photos over the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks, this was the very first time I got an opportunity to capture him with all four paws up in the air. And because there was only the three dogs in the park, and so after a while, it's like, okay, what else is going on? And I had seen this police cruiser. He had pulled somebody coming over that bridge that you see just past the back window up there, and he came down here to do some type of reports. He sat there for about 5 minutes and just take a picture of what's going on in the environment around me. So one of the things I've started to do to make sure, it's called proof of presence. And when Charlie and I went out to this housing construction area to look for sunlight coming in through the windows with some shadows, I just bent over and held out the phone and took this with my Pro Max. Once again, I do this just for proof of presence because AI is getting better and better, and just to prove up that I was somewhere. So here in this image and the next, this is just some B-roll footage I captured. Charlie and I were busy wandering around through all the various houses under construction. And the one where we ended up taking a picture, there was nobody in there working, but in all the other lots there were people busy working around. And here is the house that I selected. It was one of the few that had any windows that were southward facing, and this is almost near 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So as soon as I found this house, went out, grabbed the cameras, came back in. These are handheld shots. And Charlie was just wandering around. And in a couple of them that are coming up, I think this is the first time he's ever actually seen his own shadow. And so initially when we came into the homes, I had him on a leash because of the construction workers out there. But after getting tangled up in the 2x4 studs in the wall, and that was really complicating taking a picture of him, so I took his leash off, and because of all the noise he really wasn't in a hurry to go back out there, but he was just really having an interesting time looking down and admiring himself in his own shadow. And here are just a couple more B-roll images of the construction workers building a foundation and doing whatever. And so we moved outside to see what was going on, and then we went back in and got the final shot. So once again, this is the Purposeful Photo, and the objective for this week was to capture sunlight coming in through a window, and then for the extra challenge is to capture a shadow, which sounds easy, but some shadows are very small, very faint. But this one was very prominent, late afternoon sun coming in at a nice angle. So when Charlie and I were driving back from the city of Gatesville to drop off the 3 black and white prints at the cattle auction barn, I had noticed this location on the drive up, and so on the drive back, this is about 3-4 miles south of the city of Gatesville, and the small mound, it's called Knob Hill on the map, but it's called Bald Knob over there on Fort Hood. And so you can see here in the second image, all of a sudden the moon's appeared now. It's the same image. I inserted the moon because on April 1st, according to Photo Pills, this is the location at 300 millimeters that the moon will rise. So on this day, rather nice day, no clouds though, so the sky's rather boring. But anyway, so Charlie and I went out to the Stillhouse Lake Wildlife Management Area. Once again, I like taking him out there because I don't have to have him on his leash. But the challenge for myself this day was to practice and get a better understanding of compression So in this, I have the Canon EOS R5 and the 70 to 200, and this is the image of at 70 using f8, try and get everything in focus, and then the subsequent picture is going to be at 200. And so while I just took the one at 70 millimeters, now it was time to check out the compression and see what happens. And so this one is at 200. And for some reason, while I'm still at f8, I bumped up my ISO to 400 for some reason. And my speed went up from 3 something to 400 in this image. Anyways, I just wanted, once again, that was the whole, Charlie and I spent about 2 hours out here scoping around this tree, going left, right, forward, backwards, and this is what I settled on. So here in image 14 for the roll of 24 for this week is I was sitting outside and I had just read on my astro program about the conjunction of the moon and Jupiter and how this was not going to occur again for till 2028. So ran back into the office, grabbed my cameras out. Originally, I started off with the 200 to 800, and I forgot I have the 1.4 teleconverter on that. And I could not get anything in. I could get the moon, I could get Jupiter, but I could not get them both. So went in, swapped out the lens for the 100 to 500. And as you can see, I had to turn up the speed. So this is 1/200 because the moon was just so bright. And once again, challenging myself. So after capturing the conjunction of the moon and Jupiter, I was like, okay, can I capture just Jupiter by itself? And so as you can see here, I'm all the way out at 500. And this is a variable zoom lens, so it's out at 7.1. And I was at 1/6 of a second. So thus you're going to see that motion blur in this. I might have been able to bump up the ISO, but because it was so dark, I didn't want to introduce any noise. But these are out of the 96 moons that go around Jupiter. These are the 4 largest moons that you can see here in this picture. So have you ever gone to a dog park and there's no other dogs there except for yours, and yours is like, I'm on strike because all Charlie did was sit underneath the picnic table. And so I did have the 200 to 800 with the R5 Mark II, and my whole intent for the last couple of days without a camera sitting out here at the dog park, I had seen either Chinooks or AH-64 attack helicopters or the Black Hawk helicopters taking off and landing over what's called East Fort Hood, where they're stationed at. And of course I didn't have a camera. So I'm sitting out there with this big Ganga lens going, okay. So I'm not going to call this street photography because I was not wandering around down the streets, but I was sitting in the dog park and looked around and captured some different, unique images. So after taking a picture of the previous image of the parking lot lights in the parking lot, there was this telephone pole that was being inundated with vines and trees and everything else. And while it's a picture, nothing going on in the sky. But what's unique now is that the following week, the people came in and all of those branches and leaves and everything else are now gone. So I consider this a very unique picture because it won't replicate itself for many years until all these trees have an opportunity to grow back. So this is a picture that won't be seen for another 10 years. So after the light pole and the power pole, just looking around, this is at 403 millimeters is the plastic bag dispenser for the dog's business, and just very unique. And so I captured this. Once again, I don't consider this street photography because I was not out on the streets. I was sitting at a park, and Charlie was still sitting below me and not wanting to go play. But then again, there was no other dogs at the park at this time. So ever since we really started visiting this park back in the middle of January, and it's kind of funny and ironic that they have 2 of these things out here in the park. And I think I've seen 1 I walked around my subdivision, and ours are silver and red. I've seen a lot that are yellow. I'm not sure if I've seen a green one. And if I have, I can't remember where it's at. So whoever came up with these fire hydrant designs, yes, they're cute and unique. I just kind of wish they'd have them colored like the fire hydrants throughout our city, so the dogs can have a better. I don't know. Can dogs see in color? So as I mentioned previously, Charlie and I started showing up around here the second or third week of January. The following week, the city turned off the water because a cold spell was coming in. And so they closed everything up, winterized it all. And then 3 weeks later, when it started getting back into the high 50s, low 60s, and they turned the water back on. And then for somehow, from turning the water off to turning the water back on, it broke the system. And for 3 weeks, everybody had to start carrying in their own water. And so there was a lot of community water bowls going on. So I went out to the RC airplane airfield over there in Union Grove out near Stillhouse Lake. And I met a gentleman named Jeff, and he agreed to help me learn the basics and introductions to my new drone. And so after about 45 minutes of going through stuff, he took me out to the airfield. And so I lifted off and flew out to a point over here overlooking Stillhouse Lake. And I took my first image. And it's kind of scary because you can't really see the drone. Once it goes probably about 500 feet away from you, you can't hear it anymore. And you're like, where is it? So once I had the drone, I took that first picture because I was excited and wanted to take a picture. And so then Jeff had me just hovered in space and slowly rotate it left and right, get used to the joysticks to figure out which one does what. And then I said I needed to angle it down some, so he showed me which lever to do with that, the wheel actually. And so this was the second image I took, and I just loved it. Was rather windy, probably about 15-mile-an-hour gust, so you can see some movement out there in the water. And so after this picture here, I'd been with him for about an hour, 2 hours. And so I was going to bring the drone back in for landing. So I was like, hey, let's turn on the movie thing and record this thing coming back in. And so this is a DJI 5 Mini Pro. And so you can turn the camera on. So the camera's looking. And then there it is. It looks down towards the ground. It knows where its home point is. There I am with Jeff, the guy who was nice enough to give me some basic instructions on how to fly my new drone. And so here are some B-roll footage out there at the park. This is Saturday the 28th. As I mentioned earlier, the prior time that Charlie and I went out there, there were no other dogs for the whole time we were out there. And so Charlie was a little lonely, and so I decided to take him back out. And this day the park was rather full, and Charlie did get to meet a few new dogs that he previously had not met. And I think we spent about an hour and a half. That's Delilah, the one that's a red heeler, similar to Charlie, who's a blue heeler, but they almost look like twins, even though Delilah is a little bit older than Charlie. Anyways, he played out there for almost 2 hours and came home and was tuckered out. So on this day, the Saturday, I had the 100 to 500. I'd had the 200 to 800 previously every day through the week, trying to capture some helicopters up there. And I did capture one, but there was so much heat haze between me and it, and I wasn't sure because I was shooting at f/13 or not. So I brought the 100 to 500 this day. No helicopters to photograph. So I took images. This is a dog that Charlie had never met, and I was over all the way at 500 for this because this is way back over there. They finally got the doggy watering systems back up and running. While the dog on the left, Delilah, Charlie has previously met and interacted with, but the Doberman-style dog on the right-hand side, I never got its name, but this was the first instance that Charlie had a chance to meet it. And they did play along pretty well, but once again, Charlie kind of just wanted to play with Delilah, the red healer, since he's a blue healer. But it was a pretty active day, as you saw in the video clips. A lot of running around. There's a lot of humans that Charlie likes to go sit around, and for some reason they don't protect him or anything, but he just likes it's like home base to him. So Milky Way season is fast approaching. I plan on going out the 21st, 22nd. The Milky Way doesn't come up until 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, so those are long, late at nights. So what I want to start doing is I want to do some time-lapse photography. Using the R6 Mark II, I just like using that one for video. It's like, so how do I shoot time-lapse photography? And I thought I had it all figured out. I had it set up for 2,000 images. I had it set up to take an image every 20 seconds. The problem is when you push the button, or at least for me, you push the button, it tells you to take a picture for a test shot to get all your stuff set up, and then it tells you to hit the record button. Well, as soon as you hit the record button, it takes one picture, but then my screen went dark. And so I set it up in my office just looking outside, and that's what this image is from. And so after 3 hours, I came in and checked it, and I had the test image. Tried the process again. After 1 hour, I had the test picture again. Had to go through the menus and everything, and I finally found the thing that says leave the LCD screen turned on. So it's like, okay, did that, got it set up, had it sitting on the tripod looking outside. And so the whole process was I pushed it, and now this time I could see the first 10, maybe 15 pictures. I only saw 10 because I got up and left. They're taking a picture every 20 seconds. But then I came back in about 15 minutes later, now the screen's blank, so you're like, is it taking images or not? So here is what 1 hour at full speed looks like. Once again, I appreciate you watching this video, roll of 24 for the week of 23 February through 1 March. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and hit that like button. Thank you.